Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Growth and Grace, my weekly show where we talk through things that come up in life and how to get through them instead of being stuck and like buried by them, because there's a lot of things that could do that, and that's not a fun way to live. So we're addressing it here in the show. So welcome. This week's topic is one that's near and dear to my heart because it's something that I have worked through on multiple different occasions. So one of the things that I would love to, and hey, good morning, I'm seeing a few people join. Good morning, good morning. One of the recent arenas where this has taken place for me is in a relationship standpoint, like friendship type relationship. And in the past, it has been multiple work relationships, work opportunities, rather, shall I say. So, when an opportunity presents itself and you think, wow, this seems really cool. This seems really good. I remember when I was in my early 20s, so now I'm dating myself a little bit, but that's fine. We've all been in our early 20s at some point. If not, you're on your way there. And there's a lot of great things that can be learned in your early 20s. So learn them. Then you don't have to relearn them in your early 30s. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I had a job as an office manager. Although technically, if you were to look at my paperwork, I was a security guard. That's right. You guys may not have known that. I was security guard of the month, even. What an honor. But I was an office manager, and I ended up getting hired on by the company to go into sales. And I remember being, doing the math, I would have been 22. And I had been told my whole life, you'd be so good at sales, you should go into sales, by like lots of different people. So in the back of my mind, I was like, well, of course, sales. Of course, this opportunity presented itself because I would be good at sales and I should do sales. And so I kind of had that locked in my mind. And looking on paper, the job was phenomenal. Like it checked every single box. I got to work with the best manager. My team was incredible. The pay was great. The benefits were there. There was travel involved. Like everything about it was awesome. And it was another, I have this history of all the jobs that I've had in my past have been the first time that job has ever existed at the company. Like literally every job on my resume. And so this was another one of those. So I got to create it as we went, which was so fun because I love being creative and I love not being locked into a box of like, it has to look just like this, right? So on paper, this opportunity is phenomenal. And then I get into it and I get deeper into it and I'm further along in it. And I have never in my life felt so weighed down and like awful. Every day I woke up going, oh my gosh, I have to go into work today. Oh my gosh, I have to check my email and get back to people on things that I don't know anything about. Like it just was bringing up a lot of stuff. And this company that I was working at was consistently being named one of the best places to work. And so again, another checkbox. And what ended up happening was I drove myself like into the ground. Like I was in deep depression and I was ignoring every single red flag because it looked good on paper. So I should be so thrilled with it, right? Because on paper, it looks great. And as it turns out, that one piece of paper that lists all the attributes of this opportunity or this person or this whatever, it's not one size fits all. So while it looks great on paper and while pretty much anyone, regardless of what lights them up, regardless of what excites them, pretty much anyone could look at it and be like, well, yeah, on paper, that looks really good. That's an awesome opportunity. You should totally take that opportunity. And early 20s, I'm like flattered by this offer. So of course I take it. And then I realized months down the road, it is not a fit for me. It's horrible. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm feeling completely overwhelmed. I'm ignoring all of the little red flags that keep popping up saying, this isn't a fit. This doesn't feel right. This isn't fun. Like, this isn't what you want to do the rest of your life. Like all of those, I just kind of shoved them down because this is a great opportunity and I should be so lit up by it. And here's the thing. You're going to have opportunities come and go throughout life, and you may or may not take all of them. Whether they're a fit or not, you can be grateful for the opportunity, right? Like whether you'd say yes or no, or not now, or yes, but let's tweak some things, like whatever it is, you can always be grateful for the opportunity and thankful that it presented itself, and grateful for the person to recognize attributes in you where they would want you involved in this opportunity. Cool. Be grateful for it, but you don't have to take it. And so here's the, what really stuck out to me was, it took so many months of me ignoring that and me like sinking deeper and deeper and deeper into depression before I was able to even like voice that this wasn't fitting and it wasn't a match for me. So I had the conversation with my manager, and he's such a good manager, such a good leader. So the conversation went as well as it possibly could have, and he was very understanding, and we got everything squared away and made my decision to step out of that position, and actually ended up leaving the company and going to work in a different industry completely. But what it taught me, and what I really want you guys to take away from this, is it's not about accepting opportunities because they flatter you, or because you feel like, well, I should do this, like out of obligation because everyone's telling me this would be a great fit for me. It's when you're recognizing those red flags, it's speaking up, because a lot of the times the red flags can be tweaked, right? Like you can look at it and be like, oh, this specific thing is not working for me. A lot of the times you can delegate that specific thing out to someone else, or you can bring in another person to help with the project, or, you can just completely like bypass that step altogether. Sometimes there are things set up that don't even need to be there. So it's voicing when those red flags come up. It's when you're in a relationship with someone and, they do or say something that triggers something in you. It's acknowledging that and voicing it, communicating it. Hey, when you said this earlier, when you did this, it really brought some stuff up for me, and I'd like to share with you about it and talk through it, because sometimes the red flags are just, hey, alert, just be aware of it, like recognize it. If it's like a, hey, you're in danger, get out of there red flag, then those things are often not things worth addressing and changing. Like, get out of there, listen to your intuition, tune into it. But it's really letting yourself recognize that it's not worth it to stay in an opportunity or relationship that's not serving you, if it's not in line with who you are, and it's not, like, don't stay in there just because you're flattered or you feel obligated to. So the way you can walk away from and let go of those opportunities is recognize, what lessons did you learn? What things did you gain from the opportunity? What relationships do you now have because of that opportunity, because you said yes to it? And allow yourself to recognize, like, that right there can be the answer. That might be why you had that opportunity. That specific person that came into your world might be the one reason why you said yes to this opportunity, where the opportunity might feel like it was such a mess, such a disaster. But because you ended up getting this one friendship from it, that's why. So it's allowing yourself to find the silver lining, so to speak, and say, wow, that relationship, that romantic relationship ended up being a total mess, but I learned about myself. There are things that I stepped into. I feel empowered now to speak up for myself in ways that I hadn't before. It's like, that's a gift. That's something that you got because of this relationship that now you have. So it's allowing yourself to step back and kind of look at it from an overview standpoint and say, what did I get from it? Like, what is the lesson here? And then letting yourself, anytime you feel that, like, oh, should I have stayed? Oh, should I still be there? Oh, maybe I shouldn't walk away. Anytime you feel that coming up, it's reminding yourself of the blessing in leaving. It's reminding yourself, you know what? It's so good that I did walk away from that, because this is what I got. And I wouldn't have gotten this lesson in this way if I had stayed. or I wouldn't have met this person and had this friendship if I had stayed. So allowing yourself to switch the tape that's playing in your head on loop, switch it up, and start inserting the blessing of why I walked away and why it's so good that I'm letting go of this. Because it's, and coming from someone who lived for years playing the same tape over and over and over, and like beating myself up for decisions that I had made, and looking back at opportunities going, man, maybe I should have stayed. I should have figured out a way to like force myself to fit into that mold so I could stay there because, you know, it looked good on paper. It's allowing yourself to switch that up. It's allowing yourself to interrupt. Anytime you find yourself thinking that, interrupt. A recent thing I've been doing that's actually really working is anytime I find myself going back to replay a story or replay a scenario that I'm like, oh, I wish that scenario would have gone differently. I wish that conversation would have gone differently. I wish that, you know, that had played out differently or had gone the way I thought it was going to go. Like all the things that we think, anytime I recognize myself thinking that, I immediately interrupt. Immediately is generous. Sometimes I still go for a little bit longer, but I definitely, I interrupt it and I start saying, it doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. And I just repeat that over and over in my head. And it's not that the whole scenario or the people involved or like how I think about it doesn't matter. What it does is it interrupts that thought pattern, because at the end of the day, it actually, you can't change it. So it kind of doesn't matter that it played out differently than you thought, or that the scenario didn't go how you wanted, or that the conversation didn't end up like you thought it would. It doesn't really matter because you can't undo it. And then, so that's the interruption of like just stopping the thought, is just saying, you know what, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I do it as many times as it takes. And sometimes I feel kind of like a crazy person because I'm doing it like a dozen or a couple dozen times, like, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it gets me out of that thought pattern that's not changing anything. It's not serving anyone for me to rehash the conversation. We've all done that, where we've played out the conversation. Oh, if I would have said this, or if they would have responded this way, or if they would have said it differently, or like, play it out all you want. You can't change it. You can't go back. There are opportunities to reapproach conversations, absolutely. But you still can't undo what happened. So playing it out in all these different scenarios that you can't even control because there's another person involved and you can only control yourself. And even that is a struggle for a lot of people. Like, it doesn't matter. So that's my little trick for letting go of things, is interrupting the thought pattern and then reminding myself, it doesn't matter. I don't need to go back and change anything. I can't anyway, even if I wanted to. And then replacing it with the blessing of, you know, what worked out in my favor, what helped forward me from that scenario. It's not going to be every single piece of the scenario. So I think there's a lot of like stuff and language going around about like every single thing in your life is like, you should see the blessing in every single thing in your life. And I'm not dogging that. I don't disagree with that per se. What I want to encourage you in, though, is that even if you don't see the blessing in every single part of the scenario or the conversation or the relationship or whatever it is right now, choose what you can see. And sometimes you have to kind of like really, really search for it. But choose what you can see and focus on that, and let that be the thing that you replace your negative story with. So, you know, you might have to really reach for it. I recently had a like friendship relationship thing just kind of blow up and not go at all how I thought it was going to go, whatever. And so in my head, I'm like, wow, I feel really screwed over right now. Like, right, I go down all those stories. We're selfish people. We think through how it impacted us. And it can take a while to get to the spot of recognizing where they're at in life and the reason why they responded and reacted the way that they did. And there's, you know, all their stuff is coming up. And it takes sometimes to get to compassion. But the thing that I like clung to from that, the like one little thing in all of the that was happening, the one thing that I was like, okay, I'm going to choose to see this. At least I got this. I got a really good playlist on Spotify from this person. And you know what? It feels a little cheesy to say that out loud. And it's not like it's a life-altering playlist. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if I'm going to choose what I think about this person, about the scenario, about how everything went down, I'm going to choose to find something that I appreciate in how it all happened and what all happened. So that's what I'm choosing to find. And I know it sounds kind of goofy, but you have that option too. So choose something that at least something, find something that's there. Maybe they like made you really good grilled cheese sandwich one time, and now you have a new recipe for grilled cheese sandwich that you can use to impress your friends. Right? I mean, maybe you went to a really cool, like you went on a really cool hike together that you otherwise hadn't known about. Now you know about it, and it's so beautiful. You know, maybe the job itself wasn't great, but you made a new friendship at the job that has gone on even after you left, or you learned a new skill set. You know, someone helped you kind of break through that discomfort of cold calling people, but now you're totally comfortable with it. Like, whatever it is, find something and let that like carry you through the times where you're replaying the scenario over and over. Interrupt, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Come up with your own interruption. That just is one I found that works for me. Reminding myself I can't change it, doesn't matter. And then replacing it with that positive, like, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, I got a really good Spotify playlist. So thank you very much. So that's it for today. Join me next week every Thursday, every single Thursday, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. You lucky Eastern folks, you get to sleep in a little bit. I know that's not really how it works, but it kind of feels like it. And I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.